Hey, everybody. Welcome to the DIY Musician Podcast. This is your host, Christina. It is December, which I don't understand how we got here at this point in the year. I live in Santa Monica, for those of you that don't know. So I know that this is going to sound like a humble brag, but it's not. I don't, we don't have seasons. So to me, it's just like cold summer right now, and I really wish that we did. I'm really wishing I lived somewhere with, like, snow and a cozy fire and yeah, because I have that wintry feeling in my heart, but just not in my surrounding areas, if that makes any sense. Some people are gonna probably be upset that I am not happy and grateful for 70-degree weather. Anyway, today we're gonna be talking to Rachel. I wanted to sort of chat about predictions for 2024. These are pretty silly predictions. They're not based on any fact or any data. These are just what do we think is gonna happen in 2024 to music, for musicians, trends, those sorts of things. So yeah, let's bring Rachel on.
You're listening
to the CD Baby
CD Baby
DIY
Musician
Podcast.
Hey.
Hey, good morning.
I I just wanna say that we always do well, we just said good morning and then we started recording. But hi again.
Hi again.
How are you?
I'm good. I mean, I'm 2 hours ahead of you, so this, earliness isn't probably affecting me as much as it is you on the West Coast, Here in the
Yeah.
Midwest, it's 9 AM.
Yeah, it's 7 AM right now, and I'm fine. And I was just
Yeah.
commenting how I guys, listen, I'm trying to do this podcast thing, but I can't get myself to not look like a ghost on on camera. I've tried everything. I have a new ring light. I'm unveiling, I'm pulling back the curtain to tell you that I'm not perfect when it comes to podcasting from home, you know?
And we don't have, like, some, big production studio or anything like that. We're really just, like, doing this in, like, a very DIY way, and I
So
prefer it that
DIY.
way, I think.
I mean, I feel like maybe I should go take some classes or a seminar on how to properly light yourself, but just know that, like, I am listen, I'm Colombian. I do have a natural tan. You can't see it, but it's there. If you're like, "Why is this girl so white? Has she been in a crypt for 30 years?" No, I swear I have a tan. You just
I know we're
can't
almost,
see
like,
it.
flipped right now because 'cause I'm the Irish person in this
Yeah.
situation.
No matter what, like, no matter who I interview, I look like a goth from 1995 who, like, when I was, like, a kid and a goth kid, I used to put white powder on my face just to look like a porcelain doll.
Yeah.
Now I don't have
I
to.
I think the audio matters more in this situation anyway, honestly, like, I think we
Yeah.
both sound pretty good, so
Yeah, who's even watching this? Anyway, I hope a lot of you are watching this, and I hope wherever you are, you're having a wintry time. What's it like where you are right now?
It is cold. It is,
Mm,
now the cold has fully come to Minnesota and, I wake up in the morning, it's like 15 degrees out, and yeah, I have to really bundle up to take my daily walks, which are very important to me, but they are
yeah.
sometimes uncomfortable.
Good for you for pushing through, getting those steps.
Yeah.
What's your step count? Nobody cares,
Oh.
but I wanna know.
I play this, game called Pikmin Bloom, which is a lot like, Pokemon Go, and so I do actually keep pretty good track of my steps from playing that game. I average anywhere between, like, 7 to 10,000 a day, to,
Nice.
do all my tasks in the game on my phone.
I try to make 10 my minimum, but it can be hard, especially in the
Yeah.
winter. I'm getting pretty lazy right now, even though our weather has not changed all year.
Yeah, what's it like in
Um,
California?
it's just like I was saying earlier in the intro, it's like cold summer, you know?
Mm.
It's like I wore shorts yesterday, I'm not gonna lie. I know, but, I was cold, you know?
Wow.
Well, cool. We were going to talk today a little bit about predictions for 2024. And I've already prefaced this, but I'm just going to say it again. These are not like facts that we've researched. There's no data behind this.
No.
These are just Rachel and mine's straight up opinions.
Yeah,
And
and
if that's not
thoughts. Yeah.
interesting, you don't have to listen to it. But mostly we were just curious what each other thought about what the future of music is. And really, these are somewhat silly. Like I maybe believe this 80%.
Yeah, I think a couple of mine, I mean, most of mine are kind of social media based. So a couple of mine are maybe a little bit more numbersy and like things that I've sort of seen, but some of them I think are my opinion is colored by how I would like to how I would prefer things were next year as opposed to
Yeah,
how things went this year. So
same. A lot of mine are more songwriting based, because that's just less nerdy than what you like. And just kidding. And yeah, I mean, I'll just go ahead and start. I
yeah.
think one of the ones that might be a controversial one, I don't know. I think we're gonna see a lot more uplifting feel good music in 2024. And I don't mean like what was that awful song Get Happy that happened years ago? What was it? It was the one it
Uh
was like for the Minions soundtrack or something. It was like, "Come
yeah.
on, everybody, get
Oh, the
happy."
Pharrell song. Mhm.
Pharrell. I mean, I
Yeah.
like Pharrell, but that song was obnoxiously uplifting, toxic positivity. Um, it's not necessarily what I'm talking about. I think I'm just thinking that like that Janelle Monáe album came out this past year that was all about
Mhm.
like just like feeling yourself and like owning good feelings.
Yeah.
Like having a party and having good times. And I know that we're in a really dark place in the world and there's a lot of like charged music, there's a lot of depressing music. There's also been a lot of like sort of downer um I'm depressed or I'm going through this XYZ. And I mean, I'm one of those people. I write sometimes existentially low tunes.
Mhm.
And like we're all still grieving. But I just wonder if maybe a backlash of the darkness will be people writing uplifting and like positive energy music. I don't know.
Yeah, it's always nice when music can be kind of a respite from whatever you've got going on in your life,
Mhm.
and sometimes for me, that is, like, kind of wallowing in the sorrow kind of music, but,
Mhm.
if I wanna, like we were talking about earlier, like, go for a walk and have, like, a little bit more peppy kinda time, then, yeah, a lot of times that's the kind of music that I put on and I like it, and, yeah, I would hope that maybe people can lean more into some positive vibes, especially with, you know, geopolitical stuff going on right now and then
Yeah.
also, like, going into an election year.
It's really hard. It's really hard to think about writing like
Yeah.
a sexy, fun time album right now. But then I heard that Janelle Monáe album and I was like, oh, this is what we need. I want more of this, you know? It had
Mhm,
such good energy and it was just about like giving in to your desires and I
mhm,
loved that, especially because I think I just started writing a new album and it's all grief songs, you know, because I'm just now processing 2020. Um,
mhm.
and
Yeah.
so, yeah, like there is this deep desire to just like make good tunes, like fun tunes that don't mean much, you know?
Yeah. I
It
think of,
just
that
doesn't
makes me
mean
think of, Wolfman, like, from Wolfpack. He's, like, an offshoot of
Mhm.
Wolfpack, and his songs are so silly and so fun, and I was
Yeah,
jamming to some of that yesterday, and I was just like, "Yeah, music doesn't have to be so serious all the time. We can just have, like,
silliness.
a cool beat and horns and funky guitar riffs and just sing about silly
Yeah.
things."
I hate that I'm gonna bring this up right now, and
Yeah.
my if my husband hears this, he's gonna be really tickled that I'm even bringing it up. But I he recently introduced me to Ween,
Oh,
which
yeah.
is the silliest. Um, I mean, it basically just sounds like SpongeBob music, and I'm sure there's, like, some people that listen to this podcast that might be offended by that statement, but it was great. Listen, like, compositionally fantastic, lyrically great. I didn't wanna like it. instinctually. I mean, I don't know how I went this long without listening to it, but I didn't want to like it. And unfortunately, I really enjoy it.
I have not listened to Ween yet. I think I'll maybe give that a try today after what you
Yeah,
just said.
the mollusk, I
The
think. Anyway,
mollusk.
I'm not gonna recommend Ween
Okay.
anymore.
Okay.
Yeah, what about you on a more social note?
Yeah, sure. I think so my first prediction, and this is like kind of from seeing things just the way that things have been going already this past year, like it just kind of makes sense that this would continue into next year. But uh social is going to keep playing a huge role in music promotion and discovery,
Mhm,
especially with the way that the social media platforms are leaning ever so heavily into algorithmic surfacing and discovery of things. You know, I have just seen it so many times, especially on TikTok, these past couple years with like quite small artists just like totally blowing up, not from like necessarily one viral moment, but from lots of consistent engagement with the audience, making cool stuff, making cool videos. Um, and I just think it's like an invaluable tool for artists to be able to dip their toes into that world. Like if you've ever been curious about it, I do think with like practice and patience, um, anyone can figure out how to like, you know, post a TikTok video or just like a like very short performance video and like know to trim the edges to get to like the one cool spot in the song.
yeah, I think I said this to you yesterday, I could really use a Rachel 101 lesson on trimming video. Just editing, short form video in general. That's interesting. I mean, yes, obviously, we've seen that happening and people exploding off of it. I sometimes sort of feel the opposite in that I think maybe it's that the idea of the TikTok artist is going to change because
Mm,
currently, I feel that a lot of the TikTok artists are often conceived as, um artists that just know how to do one song, or they just have,
sure.
like, that one hit, or they just can sing along really well, and so they blow up, and then, they're given an opportunity to showcase more, and there isn't more. Maybe they don't even really know how to play anything other than that one thing, or they don't know how to sing it. So that's, like, what I conceive of TikTok artists, although
Mhm,
I know that there's, like, this sort of trend, and I'll go into what I was gonna talk about next, which is of showcasing real talent and artists that are really
mhm,
blowing up because they have it, they have talent. They've been working on their craft for years. Like,
mhm,
I forget their name, but, like, I watch, like, this one bass player who just, like, tears it apart,
mhm,
online on short form video, and guitar players and drummers and more than just singers.
mhm,
Um, and so that's been really interesting to watch evolve, and I'd like to see more of that. Like, I'd like to see more artists that are taking up instruments and are honing
mhm,
their crafts and showcasing showcasing their talent. Not to say that singing isn't talent. I'm not saying that. Just thinking that, yeah, this what I've conceived of TikTok artists, I think is going to evolve outside of my own ideas of it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think, and I know that you don't really spend time on that platform too
Yeah.
much. There's kind of like I've seen a lot of younger artists who, yeah, like you said, like have like that kind of one moment where they were able to do this one thing really well, and then maybe they got a record deal or something. But
Mhm.
the, I don't think labels are really developing artists the way that they used to, and so it's they're like, okay, what else
Yeah.
you got? And they're like, I haven't been doing this for
Nada.
very long.
Yeah.
But there's also, like you said, a ton of artists that have been doing it for a long time and have been gigging forever and have
Mhm.
just been like plugging away. And then
Mhm.
they're able to showcase that talent and get in front of more eyes that wouldn't have discovered them otherwise.
Yeah.
Like that's what I think is a really cool thing to see with TikTok.
Mhm. Well, I mean, YouTube really led the way with that,
Hmm.
The Biebers out there who
Yeah,
got discovered from YouTube exist, and they're massive, right? They're like the largest pop stars of 2023 at this point. So, it happens.
for sure.
But yeah,
What do
that's
you got next?
that was sort of my next one was just, people embracing instruments more. I just got
Mhm.
distracted by a beautiful bird outside my window.
Oh, so it goes. Yeah, it's the morning there, of course.
Oh, it's beautiful. Sorry, guys. Yeah, I think people embracing when I say real instruments, first of all, I just like to point out that I do play electronic music. Um, and that's not it is not a dig on electronic music. I love it. It's one of my favorite things to play. I live in a house full of like synths and we like to make ambient music and whatnot. That being said, I think people are going to pick up like acoustic guitars and acoustic instruments more and start I think there's going to be sort of a not folk as we know it resurgence, but just a resurgence of yeah, like acoustic natural instruments. And maybe it'll be a whole new sound. I don't know. I just think that like we're
Hmm.
craving it. I remember in the early 2000s, everybody was an unplugged folk band, the
Mhm.
traveling circus of a folk band. And one of my favorite bands ever that who knows if you're out there, Spirits of the Red City, it was one of the best shows I've ever seen in my life. Played a show with them. They would just it was like 6 people in a circle, 1 microphone in the middle. Nobody was plugged in. Everybody was just singing up, and it was like a cello and a violin and and 2 guitars and tambourines, and it was the most beautiful sound, and I'd
Mm.
like to hear more of that. So maybe it's just that I'd like to hear more of that. But I also think that there is sort of this trend towards picking up whatever's available and just going outside and making some music.
Yeah, it makes total sense. I mean, I was gonna tell this story of when I went to a Lumineers concert over the summer, in Wisconsin, and, it was kind of like a mini festival day. There were a few other bands that played before them, and they were the headliner for the night. And, it was, like, out in this big field, there was a seated part, like, toward the stage, but then there was also lawn seating toward the back, and,
Mhm.
my folks and I, when we left a little bit early because we wanted to beat the tons of traffic, and as we were leaving, there's this big group of Gen Z folks, like 18 to 22-year-olds, like 50 of them, all just dancing, to
Mhm.
the Lumineers. Like, they have this huge, Gen Z fan base, and,
Yeah.
that band's been around for a long time. They've been making really good folk music for a long time too, and,
Mhm.
uh, yeah, Gen Z is, embracing folk, and that's, if any indication, it's, coming back with a vengeance.
Yeah, and I'd like to see sort of something that extend the idea of what we know as folk. I was really into the alt folk scene when that was
Mhm.
happening, and I think that that's happening again. I
Yeah,
just went to see Feist over the summer in
nice.
Barcelona, and the whole first half of her set was just her in the round with an acoustic guitar, and it
Mhm.
was so magical. That was all it was, and then the show, I mean, it was probably one of the best shows I've ever seen because it just, like, kept more magic kept happening, but at a certain point, she goes on stage and, like, this curtain comes down and there's a full band, and they're playing
Awesome.
all the hits in full band, like full production. But that first half of 10 songs of just guitar, I never was thinking, God, I would really wish that this had, her backing band or whatever. It was so captivating, it was so beautiful. And I remember that, I mean, especially in the earlier days of my playing solo, just having a guitar, you could still get a room to be magnetized by you. You could
Mhm.
still really capture it, if anything, even more people's attention with just your voice and just one instrument. And so I find that there's like a lot of magic in that, especially when we live in an era where everything is at our fingertips and I can sit here and I could create some crazy composition with like 30 drum machines and
Mhm.
really wow you on the internet, but in person, like I'd like to see more of that.
Me too. I mean, that's the style of music I make anyway. I mean,
Mhm.
I always gravitate back toward my acoustic guitar, because it is kinda limiting in a way to just only have that, and yes, we have all the chords in the world, but,
Yeah.
simple cowboy chords and really good lyrics. It's good stuff.
There was a point for me with playing where I was only really playing acoustic for years. I had like my band was a stand-up bass and at one point an accordion, and at one point a violin and a pedal steel guitar. And I was sort of doing this very folk thing. And then I got really into electronic music. And so I go into the studio and the producer thinks that we're going to be making this like full alt folk album. And instead I'm like, no, I'm putting synths on everything. And that sort of was this moment where it changed for me. And I guess maybe this is a more personal trend where I'm like, I think I want to go back.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's mine. What about you?
Yeah, I hope we can get through all these. We're kind of already somewhat far into the podcast, but this is a relatively quick one. I think that, and I'm already seeing this on social a lot, but more artists will embrace original, repeatable content on
Mm.
social rather than, using a viral TikTok sound to try and get in front of more people. While that can work, it's just like not it's much harder to be consistent and keep on trend with all that stuff and keep track of it. I know I did an episode with Chris and Kevin. I think
Mhm.
that was like toward the end of last year, and we just talked about TikTok trends. But I think that probably a more effective way to approach reaching your audience is to just find a format that works really well for you to showcase your skills, showcase your music, and then like create a simple schedule. Like I'm going to do this 3 times a week. Maybe I'll do
Mm.
2 covers and one a video showing one of my original songs. And while those videos, at least in my experience, don't always reach the very biggest audience, they do reach the audience that really, really likes what you're
Mhm.
doing. And I think that's
Yeah,
just a much better
consistency.
way. Yeah, a
Consistency
better
is
way to
key.
reach their people.
People really like it when you create a pattern, when they know, "Oh, it's Thursday. Thursday is the day that Rachel goes live," or whatever, the green screen comes out and something crazy is gonna happen on
Mhm,
Thursdays. I think people really like having that plan, like, in their head as far as, "Oh, yes, I connect this artist with consistency," and
mhm,
that is I mean, that's just great marketing as well,
for sure.
just having a consistent voice and a consistent trend. Um, what are other like, repeatable content ideas that you've seen that you think people can embrace?
Um, yeah, I mean, uh, another idea could be just explaining like a story behind a song of
Mhm,
yours, or um, shouting out another artist with
mhm.
a collaboration. It's really easy now to do those like split screen videos where you have the other person's audio in your ear and then you're like adding something to what they're creating. That can create some really
Mhm.
good opportunities in real life as well. I've experienced it firsthand. Yeah, there's tons of ways. I think people can just like go check out some artists that they like, or like just scroll on the For You page and see what comes up and get inspiration that way too. There's so many
Yeah,
ways to do it.
absolutely. Alright, let's see. One of mine ooh, blah, blah, blah. Okay, I think we're gonna ditch autotune in 2024. I think
What
it's
makes you think
time.
that?
Ugh, so many things just make me want it. I
Yes.
was watching, like, a live performance, maybe it was SNL or something, and it was a live performance of an artist, and I could just tell, like, it was so auto-tuned out,
Wow.
and it was hard to watch because I just, like, instantly lose respect when I
Mhm.
hear it, and I don't mean, like, genre-based autotune usage, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about, like, basic pop artist singing where you're just hiding all the natural of your voice behind this tool because you probably, A, can't hit the note, or B, aren't, like, practicing to hit that note, you know? Um, that's what I'm talking about. So, when I'm
Mhm.
saying autotune, I'm not talking about, like, in genres where that's really prevalent, although I will say that it's overused in pop.
For sure.
And there's, like, these artists that are coming out that are really creating beautiful, timeless music, and they're not really using autotune. They're using their voice, they sound beautiful. I'm going to butcher her name, but Lofe
Uh, lay
Lay
Leve is how you say
Leve?
it. Mhm.
That album is killing me. It is so beautiful.
What an amazing musician, like, just
Oh
shout
my
out
god.
Leve, holy moly, and she plays multiple instruments, she's, From Iceland originally, like, she speaks
Yeah.
multiple languages, and she's just out of Berkeley, like, that is insane how
It
good she
made me
is.
cry. I also because, like, I wanted my next album to have this big symphony thing, and then I heard this, it was like, What's the point? This is too good."
I also think
Um
of, like, Cody Fries and kinda that,
Mhm.
like, same, is another really good artist, but yeah.
I just heard October London as well, like, beautiful,
Mhm.
timeless soul R&B, and, like, that it's just gorgeous, having that
Mm.
something timeless, something that doesn't sound like today. It sounds like it could be 30 years ago, it could be 40 years ago, it could be 30 years in the future. Um, I love that kind of music, and I think that
Mhm.
that's starting to trend more, and I'm hearing more of it on the radio, and I'm seeing more of it on, like, on shows and on TikTok and on
Yeah.
Instagram, so I really think that that is a fact-based prediction.
Yeah, I think of too, like, Brandi Carlile, like, an all-time favorite
Mhm.
of mine, like, she's not using no autotune, you know?
No.
Um, but yeah, the interesting thing is, like, the general non-music public is probably not able to tell the difference all the time, especially if it's, like, really, really subtle usage of, like,
Really?
Melodyne. Yeah, oh, have you, like I don't know, like, I've used a little bit of Melodyne on some of my own, stuff,
Sure.
you know?
Melodyne is not what we're talking about, though.
You're talking about, like,
Melodyne
the really
is like
intense stuff.
yeah, is like post-production autotune. I'm talking about live singing, like, live performance autotune. I was on a
I
track with a
see.
friend, and the producer in the studio put autotune on the mic as sort of an effect, and it
Mhm.
was really hard to sing with autotune, I'm just gonna say.
I guess I've never
So
had to do that, yeah, I didn't think about it
it's
that
the
way.
weirdest thing because 'cause you're
Yeah.
pushing the note, and I have a tendency to sort of swoop up into a note or whatever,
Mm.
like that twang a little bit, and so you can't do that because it
So
just
then do you
goes
get a Yeah.
and so, yeah, but it's just not something you wanna hear when you're watching a live performance,
Sure.
and you can hear that thick what was it? Just I feel bad calling this out, but it was like, Meghan Trainor and Jimmy Fallon just put out a Christmas song.
Oh, I
And
haven't
I
heard
could
that yet.
tell that Jimmy Fallon is not a singer, you know,
Sure.
but
He's a comedian, yeah.
but they put it on his voice in a live performance, and it was very obvious to me that he had autotune on. I'm not gonna blame him for that. He's not a singer. He was just doing
Sure.
something fun. But yeah,
Did Meghan Trainor also have live auto tune on?
I doubt it. She's got a great voice. Maybe she
Sure.
did, but wasn't as noticeable. She knew how to use it better.
Yeah, more experience, more practice.
Mhm. Okay, your turn.
Is it my turn? Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
Well,
I'm
speaking
running
of
out, actually.
technology you're what? Sorry?
I'm running out of predictions, so you're next.
Oh, yeah. Speaking of technology, I think we're gonna keep seeing bigger and crazier stories about music and AI. A ton of that happened this year. I know Chris predicted some of that last year. I was looking back at our article from last year, and he was very correct. I mean, we now have artists like licensing away the use of their voice for people to make whatever they want, like willingly to do that. I think
Mhm.
one I noticed recently was Troye Sivan decided to do that. I love him, by the way, but and I don't want to get into my opinions about it too much, you know. Um, but yeah, with you know, people, everyday people using AI like to make SpongeBob sing Freddie Mercury songs and stuff like
Mhm.
that. Uh, it's just gonna keep getting bigger and bigger, and I wonder too, I'm a little bit nerdy about this too, like, where the laws are gonna come in
Mhm.
and decisions, and is there gonna be some kinda, like, landmark decision with, AI music coming up?
Mhm.
It's very interesting to me.
Yeah, I was just talking about this yesterday with somebody, who had been talking we've been talking about this for years, like, what are the laws? What are the ownership laws when it comes to AI usage in music, and who owns it? I mean, does the AI own it at this point or the copyright like, what are the copyright infringements that could happen there? That's the stuff that I see happening a lot of in 2024 is sort of those things getting hashed out publicly, a
Mhm,
lot more lawsuits, a lot more a lot yeah, getting it hashed out is, I think, the best way to say it, like, a lot more sort of trying to figure out how to make this work because despite my opinions about it, which I'm sure pretty obvious that I am weirdly backwards when it comes to AI, I do think it's it's there. It's a thing. I can't deny it. So it's happening. So how do we make it fair?
Yeah, and I know our world is famously complicated with rights and
Mhm.
copyright, and the laws are sometimes like way back in the past, and some of them are like more nowadays, and so they're leave it to the label
Oh
lawyers
my
to
gosh.
weave through all that and figure it out. I'll read about it. I don't want to partake though myself.
Copyright law is already so freaking daunting. I already am still wrapping my brain around it as somebody that's worked in the industry for a while, and
Sure.
for it to be changing so much and so quickly, especially with AI technology and everything, that's just a whole other bag. But I do think we're gonna have somebody come on soon to sort of explain copyright law, so stay tuned for that.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, um, I
What
don't
else you
really
got?
have I don't have much more. I guess this sort of goes back to my uplifting. It's sort of the opposite of what I was saying about real instruments because you can use some natural instrument in it, but I'm biased, but I believe ambient music is the next big thing, in a lot of ways, just because a lot of us need to chill the frick out. Um,
Mhm.
where I was at a conference a few weeks ago and Zane Lowe spoke, and it was a room full of music executives, and Zane Lowe was like, "Listen, all of you music executives, if you are not on the bandwagon yet, ambient music is where it's at." And I was like, "Oh man, he's gonna blow up our spot." But at the same time, it's true. It's like that is what a lot of musicians are sort of gravitating it towards, not as just like their only outlet, but for example, like for me and for my friends, it's more of just an outlet to create without expectation.
Mhm.
So it's improv, and usually it's improv. It's just playing without worrying about the outcome and then just being excited about what happens after, seeing what it was when it's like free form painting. And
Yeah.
it can be a really useful tool for us to just get out of our heads and get out of
Mhm.
the expectation of, I need this to be a perfectly constructed song. I need lyrics. I need the whole production. It should be that. Sometimes it can still be something where you toil over it for weeks. But for the most part, I think it's just a really exciting genre right now. And a lot of people are entering it. And I think it's different than what it was even a few years ago. A lot of people were sort of gravitating towards lo-fi as
Mhm.
ambient, and that's not what I'm referring to. I'm
Yeah.
really referring to like sort of like improvised ambient music.
Yeah, I meant to ask you this because I really enjoy listening to ambient music, especially while I work and need to focus on
Mhm.
something. What's the like creation process like? Because you're the person who actually makes ambient music. Like, where do you
Mhm.
start, and how long does the process take to like make an ambient track?
Where do you start is a great question. It doesn't matter where you start. It just
Mm,
sort of happens. So my instrument of choice when I'm making ambient is actually the motif, because there's so many amazing already built-in sounds that I can really like work, and it is a synth that has amazing capabilities. We also have all kinds of other instruments in this house that I could sort of play around with. It's just a matter of finding. For me, I sort of get into like a little spell of a place, and just feel my way. It reminds me of when I used to play piano without trying to write a song. I would just play and something would come out, and it wasn't me reciting something I knew, it was just playing. And that's sort of where ambient takes me sometimes, where it's just, yeah, it's like sort of a little bit of a trance, and you just make, and then you take a step back and you think, "Oh, wow, that sounded really nice." Or maybe this is really boring, I don't know. Um, I made an album in February during February Album Writing Month
mhm,
that I released in March called Gravity Wave, and that album was like this exercise. For that, I started by taking a mini log to a hotel when I went to Folk Alliance last year and
mhm.
just playing in the hotel room, saying, "I'm gonna do 20 minutes of improv." Um, and seeing what came out. Maybe it starts with an ARP. Maybe it starts with a field recording, something to latch onto so that then you can sort of like shape and color around it. And I remember by the end of the month, I thought, I don't really have anything. I'm sad I didn't create anything. And then I took a step back. I took a week and then I listened back and I was like, actually, there's a lot here, and then
Mm.
somebody can like mix it and master it and make it sound way better. But yeah, so it's just a matter of playing and not having expectation and then being like delighted by the results.
Yeah, very cool. I appreciate that. Just because I always am curious about different processes for making different kinds of music, and it reminds me of I was at a rehearsal for a band that I play in called Delicate Friend, and we are working on some new material. And there's this outro for one of our songs where we were just like talking about like, well, how do we want to end this? And
Mhm.
the direction we're going is kind of having I play electric guitar in this band, and doing a combination of reverb and delay, like really, really long, extended reverb and delay together.
Mhm.
And just that, like single notes, like adding them, like letting them all kind of swell on top of each other. And then
Building a wall, yeah.
and then having our vocalist just like close it out with just my guitar doing those things. And then our vocalist singing over that. And it was really fun, like so
Yeah,
fun to mess around with that.
it can make you feel high if you're not already. Um, I definitely have felt very stoned even when I'm not, when I'm in that space, and I mean,
Sure.
yeah, that's, like, my favorite thing to do with a band too,
Mm.
especially if you're a tight band, you guys know each other, you know what's gonna happen on stage, you're well rehearsed. One of my favorite things to do is just be like, "Let's just play this out for another 30 seconds and just see what happens on stage," and creating a wall or creating, like, it can be noise, you can make noise and that is still the same sort of trance, right? You're still creating, like, this wall of sound. It could be more melodic, it could be something you're just jamming, you're just riffing or whatever, but I think it's the same thing. It's like it's basically jam music for synth nerds. That's what I think. It's jamming, and I hate jamming in a band
Oh, I
setting.
love
I'm not
jamming.
that not maybe, yeah, that's not true. I love jamming on stage. I don't like coming into, like, a let's just have, like, a jam sesh because I feel so much pressure, like,
There
to
is pressure.
to
Yeah.
lead it or something,
Mm,
as, like, the
yeah.
keyboard or guitar player, people are like, "What chords should we play?" And I'm like, "I'm just here to play, you figure that out."
Yeah, I've definitely gotten from, bandmates like, "Okay, what do you got?" And then I'm like, here's
Yeah, it's
something," and then it kinda turns into something, but it's like, I didn't, like, have something practiced for
yeah,
this or whatever.
no, I just came to noodle.
Right. Well, that's our ambient chat for the day. That was fun.
Yeah.
I do have a couple more, and
Okay.
I'll be relatively quick about them, but, I am a full-on Threads, social-wise,
Mhm,
Threads girly now. I am, pretty much off of X for the most part, and am really enjoying the community and, audience, of Threads because it's like, it started a few months ago. It was like very saccharine sweet. And now it's kind of
mhm,
turned into like still those positive vibes, but now some of the weird people are coming, which I enjoy
mhm.
very much.
Yeah,
And
'cause who
music.
even uses X
Um,
at this
I,
point?
I'll tell you
I
my real answer later, but people that I don't enjoy talking to.
Yeah, it's always, like, the worst people in the comment section are now who's
Yeah.
left on X.
Pretty much. Yeah, pretty much, and the music community on Threads is really cool too. They, there's lots of people connecting with each other, sharing their music. I see it all the time. There's folks
Mhm,
making, playlists based on, people that they've discovered on Threads and then sharing those playlists for people to discover new artists, and the, platform itself is releasing new features all the time.
mhm,
They're gonna be making the app available in the EU this week, which is super exciting. So we're going to get like a ton more people coming onto the app, I think. And they have tags now. And I've talked about how ugly I think hashtags are. And they've
mhm.
done it in a way that is like, it's just like a blue link word, and you can only
Okay.
do one tag per post. It is just like music to
Mm,
my eyes.
tear
So yeah, my prediction is that uh, specifically that Threads will continue to rise, but I do think X will stick around for as long as Elon is willing to fund it himself because it's not really being funded by advertising as much
Right.
anymore. Like tons and tons of companies are just pulling out their ad money, so it's losing billions of dollars, and it's like at this point, it's just going to be Elon like stringing it along with his own fortune, I think.
And why? Like,
Yeah, I
what's
don't
the
know.
point, really? Um, so I have a question about Threads because
Yeah,
I have yet to sign up for it. Um, have you noticed, I feel like when Twitter first started, there at first, it was sort of this exciting outlet because you had this 140 character limit and you had to haiku your life, basically.
sure.
Um, and then it became sort of this just dumb outlet of, "This is what I had for lunch today," and nobody cares, and then it became a hate outlet, which was super fun, and now it's sort of like this hate garbage dumpster fire that is just and so I always thought that really it's that too many people have opinions and too many people are sharing their opinions on the internet.
Mm.
And that when you amplify every stupid thought, and that is what happens. It just turns into eventually a dumpster fire like dystopia. Where are we with threads?
They've I think they've learned some lessons from exactly what you're talking about.
Mhm.
They one really interesting thing that they do is when you search for a topic, you can't see threads in chronological order that have been posted with that topic. It's all just kind of like algorithm based, whatever it thinks that you are most likely to engage in related to that topic, instead
Mhm.
of the um, really actually like safety concerns with being able to just pile hate and garbage, like you said, on
Yeah.
top of people talking about a particular thing. And also, unlike Twitter X, a person can hide replies to their post for
Mhm.
everyone, and not even it doesn't even notify the
Hmm.
person whose post is being hidden, and so they're just like screaming into the void, and nobody can see it. And I, yeah,
I love
enjoy
that.
that. Enjoy that very much.
There was a sweet spot with Twitter X. Um, Is it co yeah, anyway, there was a sweet spot, and I feel like that sweet spot was 2012 to 2018. There
Mm,
was this period of time where it was such a useful tool because it was this way to communicate as an artist, it was an incredible tool to promote. You could really reach an audience outside of yourself. You could find writers and DM them and send them messages and get like I know somebody that got on Forbes because they reached out to a writer on Twitter.
wow.
Yeah, exactly. So it was like this incredible tool, and I would like to see something like that again, where it's like this community feature, but it's not just an outlet for hate. So it's good to know that Threads is sort of becoming that.
Yeah, a lot of really popular journalists and authors and
Mhm.
thought leader folks are moving over to Threads. So it's kind of like got that vibe of like this is where you want to be if you want to have access to people with influence
Mhm.
and the smart folks. Like it's really not like an outbound um, send people to your website kind of thing, which like Twitter
Right.
really never was either. It's about the community and the conversations
Mhm.
occurring there.
On that note, my next topic was sort of about how platforms have been really under fire in 2023.
Mhm.
A lot of change has been happening on multiple platforms, notably one in particular that I'm not going to name out loud has been getting a lot of, yeah, a lot
And
of
you're not talking about social platforms that right now, you're
No,
talking
I'm
about
talking about
yeah,
music platforms. Yeah,
gotcha.
there's one in particular that a lot of people have a lot of beef with, myself included. And and um that is going to change the way that people want to embrace not only distributing their music, especially independent artists right now, and they have every right to feel that way, but also how people listen to music. So, like, for example, I just pulled my membership from a very specific platform because I no longer felt like paying $16 a month to a platform that wasn't paying independent artists fairly.
Mm.
So, I'm curious to see how that evolves. I think that there's going to be a lot of people, embracing other streaming platforms, but also I'm hoping that in 2024, some monolith will come out of the woodwork and they will be the catch-all platform for streaming and monetizing for independent artists. And yes, we are a distribution company for independent artists, and we may not fit all of those things that I'm talking about. I'm talking like, the storefront, streaming platform, live video. I don't know, just something that carries it all, that does it all, that is fair and pays artists fairly.
Mhm. Um, yeah, this time of year, every single time we have this conversation because it's the end of the year,
Mhm,
all your look back stuff, and then it's artists informing the general public this is how this actually pays. And so the
mhm.
conversation happens every single time, but I do think that it's different this time. I really do, and I agree with what you said because it's been a bigger conversation than ever this year, and
Mhm,
uh, I don't think that this will be the platform to do it, but actually, what I have seen on TikTok, because there is going to be streaming on there soon, there is TikTok Shop already. People can buy things and sell things directly on TikTok, and as well, of course, the discovery and the algorithm. The payment is a different story, but
mhm.
in terms of having all those things in one place, right now TikTok is probably the closest one that we have in
I
going into this
Yeah,
next year.
I do think that there's a stigma with TikTok, though, that's not gonna reach every type of artist, and I just know that there's a lot of artists that
Mhm.
don't want to embrace it, and they're not interested in
Yeah.
that, and so I guess I'm just thinking maybe we need something fresh and new that comes out that doesn't feel like it's just run by some tech company, even though it likely is,
Mhm.
some startup that comes out that really offers something that we didn't even realize we needed. That's my hope for 2024
I
is
hope so
that
too.
there's someone that figures out what it is that can save this industry.
The secret sauce. If any of you know the secret sauce, email us, I guess?
Yeah.
Or do we're still taking emails, yeah?
Yeah, cdbabypodcast@cdbaby.com, or no,
Rad.
podcast@cdbaby.com. I don't know, you guys, I'll figure it
Podcast
out.
at
Yeah,
that would make sense if that was
podcast@cdbaby.com.
sure.
Yeah, I know that there's secret sauce out there, and I know that there's some magical recipe to save the spirits of independent artists, but this has been a really hard year for all of us,
It
in
sure
the
has, yeah.
industry, watching some of our favorite sites massive layoffs happening, a lot of resources getting taken away from these companies that they're getting sold to major non-music related corporations, and we're watching sort of like this fall of of the previous reign of independent music, right? So obviously change is coming. um I don't believe that we can be in the mud forever. I do believe that, like, out of great discomfort comes something better. I think that we have to be uncomfortable. We have to feel like it's all gonna end in order to feel so,
In
yeah,
order to
I
have
feel
revolution, right? Yeah, that's really what
yeah,
it
and,
comes down
like,
to.
that sounds doom and gloomy, and I think I have been a little doom and gloomy the last few months about just the state of the industry and the state of being an artist in this era, but at the same time, I'm not. Like, I know that there's positive change coming, so I'm just ready for somebody to step up and fix it. Somebody fix it.
It could be you, listeners to this podcast.
Yeah.
You can do it.
If somebody wants to send Rachel and I, like, a $30 billion grant, we will fix it for you.
We'll fix it. Oh,
We'll
yeah.
fix it. I think we could fix it.
I think we might need, like, 31 billion dollars,
Yeah.
and then we'll be talking.
Yeah. I need a house, but then we can fix
Same.
it for you. $1 billion house.
Um,
Okay.
Speaking of billions, I had one more prediction for next year, and it just has to do with a couple of billionaires. We're talking big, crazy artist tours that happened this year. I'm talking about uh, Beyonce's Renaissance tour, Taylor Swift's Eras tour. Those were like
Mhm.
just monumental tours. I did
Yeah.
see Taylor Swift in Kansas City. It was the craziest spectacle I have ever seen. I've had much more like transformative experiences at shows that are smaller and more DIY,
Mhm.
but just like watching all of that happen was really something. And so my
Yeah.
prediction is that more of the artists who have the resources to do that, are on that level, are gonna try
Mhm.
and like capture some of that craziness that occurred and like remake
Yeah.
it for themselves because it's quite the moneymaker, isn't it?
It is. I'm also really excited that it brought people along with other sort of big blockbusters this summer, but it brought people back to the theater. I love
Yeah.
that. I just went to the theater on a Tuesday in November, and it was filled with teenage girls because they were all there to see Taylor Swift's show, the Eras
Sure.
Tour video. And I was like so excited. It was Tuesday. It was like 8 p.m.
Mhm.
and in the middle of the week, and it was this theater filled with girls. I wasn't there to see that, but it was exciting to see that there were so many people in the theater again. So I think embracing live experiences and embracing these like community moments, this like togetherness, I do think that tours are taking off. Also, you know how I feel about T Swift, not
Yes, I do.
musically,
We're not in the same
or not in the
camp
same
on that,
camp,
but
but bitch knows how to make money. She
she
made
capped the list, I tell you what.
holy crap. I saw that, with the Polestar that came out about it, it was like she made over $1 billion on that tour, and
Mhm.
Beyoncé made half of that, and then the next one down was, like, Bruce Springsteen, who made 300 million. So it was wild, like, $1 billion on a tour, and I know that she gives so much of it away. Like,
She does, but she keeps a lot of it too.
yeah, no, she's no need of money, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But all that to say, impressive how much she can figure she's a good business person, and she has a good business team at the very least.
Yeah,
So,
for
we can
real.
say, I can give her that. I'll give her that. And I'm
Yeah,
sure she's a great performer.
maybe later I'll send you my favorite, like,
I'm not
song of
gonna
hers for lyrical content, and then
I'm
you
not
can,
doing
like,
it.
just take 3 minutes of your
Mm-mm.
life, just 3 minutes,
I
or
can't.
I'll, like, send you the lyrics in a Slack message and you can read them.
The thing is that I can hold off on things that people like for so long. Like,
I know you can. You said you're not
I
gonna listen to Billie Eilish for, like, a long time?
no, I didn't say that. What I meant was I'm excited to hear Billie Eilish 10 years from now.
Okay, gotcha.
Like, I think Billie Eilish is really talented, and I
Sure.
like Billie Eilish now, but I'm excited to hear Billie Eilish when she's, like, a little more grown and
Mhm.
has, like, a lot more life experience. I wanna hear that Billie Eilish. I wanna hear, like, she's had her heart broken a million times Billie Eilish.
Mm. Yeah, so it's so hard to, communicate sentiment in a Slack message, so I'm glad that
Yeah.
you explained fully what you meant there because I was a little
No,
bit
I think
like,
she's super
"Chris."
talented. Yeah.
Yeah, she's
No,
amazing.
absolutely. No, she's great. I'm excited to see her, um, in 10 years. It's like how I feel about some politicians too. It's like, I'm not gonna name them by name, but there's some where I'm like, "Yeah, I really like you, but let's give you 10 years. You need to be seasoned."
Yes, get some more
Um,
sleep.
okay, that was it. I mean,
That's it.
my last thought was the next big star is gonna be some like, similar to the platform, like, some unicorn is gonna arise out of who knows where, maybe TikTok, maybe America's Got Talent, I don't know. It's gonna be some, like, outrageously unexpected performer that doesn't fit any of the boxes that we currently have all of our top performers in. I don't
Mm,
know what that means, but I just hope that we get a unicorn this year, you
I would
know?
hope so too. I think that is a really cool thing to think about. I also don't I have no idea who that might be, but yeah, we'll keep
Right.
track of it.
I'll keep track. Well, this was fun. I like coming up with ridiculous predictions with you. I also think a lot of yours were way more accurate than mine. Mine were just like, "This is what I want," and yours were like, "This is where the internet is showing us that things are going."
We
But
always need balance. We always need
yeah,
balance, and yeah, I was really excited to record this, and this was super fun.
me too. All right. Do you have any plans for the holiday?
Yeah, I'll be, spending some time with, my folks. They're coming up here. My brother and sister-in-law also live, nearby here, and so, my folks are coming up, and then, uh, going down to Iowa myself, to spend time with, my partner's family for, like, a
Nice.
week, and, yeah, it's gonna be very joyful and fun. Like, my both sides of the family really do it up for Christmas, so we like it a lot. What about you?
Cool. I'm staying home this year, and we have a guest. My best friend is coming into town tomorrow, so I'm very excited about that. And then, yeah, we're gonna have a cozy, quiet Christmas. I think we're gonna get dim sum on Christmas Eve with some
Yes.
friends, and I'm gonna make something crazy and decadent. One year I made short rib stroganoff, and that was so good. I think I might make
Oh
that
my
this
God.
year. We'll see.
That
But it's
sounds
just me and
super good.
my husband, so it's a lot of just eating. And it's just the
Yeah.
2 of us eating a lot of decadent food. So,
I'm
yeah.
excited to go be with my partner's family where I will not have to plan any meals or cook
Mm.
anything, and I just get to eat.
Yeah, that's a complete opposite of my experience because it's generally just me making crazy things in the kitchen, but I enjoy it. It's fun. It's like an
Yeah.
outlet.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I will see you next year.
See you next year in 2024.
Yeah, I mean, I might also see you in, like, a meeting in an hour, but I'll see you next year
I
on the
will definitely
pod.
see you in a meeting soon.
All right, well, thank you
Alright.
so much.
Toodaloo.
Bye.
Bye.